Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Introducing Bark in the Belly Premium Dog Food. 100% of profits go to help dogs in need.
Over 30% of adults struggle with chronic foot and joint pain, and many face mobility limitations as they age. But a revolutionary Comfort First slipper has taken the wellness world by storm. Try Cloud Slides and feel you are walking on the clouds. Cloud Slides.
Welcome on in. Big show here on the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stuart on 365 Sports. It is your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio right here on the Wicked Boston Show. And boy, do we have one for you today. The biggest name guest we have ever gotten, Hockey Hall of Famer Jeremy Roenick, is going to join us in a few minutes. And man, what a freaking beauty Jeremy Roenick is. I mean, he was so generous with his time. We talked a lot. We talked a lot about USA Hockey. We went through his career. And I think in there, you get some really great perspective from Roenick about the Hall of Fame weight and what that did for basically the rest of his world, the rest of his life. It was really fantastic stuff. Can't thank Jeremy enough. Another South Shore boy, obviously. Marsh Vegas, Rock Vegas, putting it down. So we're going to have that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about Jason Tatum's comeback. Apparently it's Friday, but I saw a great article from Yahoo Sports that goes to kind of what we should be thinking about when it comes to Jason Tatum's return here and how it relates to Jason Tatum's idol, Kobe Bryant, and why Jason Tatum might be thinking about waiting an extra couple of weeks or months to potentially come back from this injury, the Achilles tear. We'll talk about that. Also, we got to talk about this just horrible take on EEI this week. I try to just tune the radio off, but when you have a take that is so bad as to say that David Pastrnak is not going to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame someday, that has to get called out. That is as dumb as it can possibly get. And then we'll get to Jeremy Roenick, and we're going to have an absolute banger of a show, long show for you on this Wednesday. But we got to start with the Celtics. It has become something of a soap opera. When is Jason Tatum coming back? And part of that is just the fact that he is one of the best players in the league. And so there is going to be a lot of attention around him coming back. And this is a team that's second in the Eastern Conference without him so far, and theoretically can only get better with him, right? Yeah, like I'm excited about Jason Tatum coming back. Let's not get this twisted. But it feels like you're either like just ready for him to come in and be the savior and be the number one guy on the team, or you're in this camp of people that can't have nice things and you're bitching about him doing a documentary and hamming it up too much. And there doesn't seem to be an in-between. Spoiler, I'm in the in-between. I'm excited for him to come back. It's Jason Tatum we're talking about. This is the heart and soul of your team. It's the best. This is the franchise. I'm excited about him coming back. I don't care if he does a documentary or not. Like, I don't think he's hamming it up. What I do care about, where I am in the mushy middle here, is this too fast? Is this too fast? And what is he going to be for this team? How is that going to affect this team that is so hot right now, that has all these role players that are playing out of their minds? You know, Jaylen Brown's having an MVP kind of season, and Joe Mazzulla is not only cementing himself as the coach of the year in the NBA, but probably the best coach in the NBA, period. So how does Jason Tatum come in as a freshly minted, 28-year-old, and not throw a wrench in that as he gets back up to game speed? Well, there was another perspective that I gained just today, which, I mean, there's been so much coverage of this. It's almost like we're past the point of new perspectives, but I got a new perspective. It's from Tom Haberstroh, covers the NBA for Yahoo Sports. And he had a great kind of look back on the two biggest stars that have been affected in the last dozen years or so by Achilles tears in the NBA. And one of them obviously was Kevin Durant. 2019 NBA Finals. Durant, tears the Achilles. We all know the story. He might have been able to come back at some point the next year. He didn't, delayed it. The Warriors stunk. And he waited a whole year and a half before he came back. And now at age, 36, 37? 36? Is it that long? Jeez, it's almost been 20 years. At age 36 or 35 with the Rockets, Durant's having a good year, man. Durant is still, in some ways, Kevin Durant. He's not 28-year-old Kevin Durant, but he's still this Hall of Fame player and a potential All-NBA guy that we're seeing out there for the Rockets. That's the long route. Then there's the short route, which is what Jason Tatum is on right now, much like his idol, Kobe Bryant, was. That was back in 2013. He came back after just over 8 months. Of course, he was 35 years old. So you got to take that into account as well. And we'll remember that lasted, I think it was 2 weeks, week and a half. 9 days. 9 days. Suffered that big-time knee injury, kept him out the rest of the season. And that was coming off an Achilles 8 months later. So if you're Jason Tatum, who, has the Kobe wristbands and texts Kobe after the big games and has that Mamba mentality, should we be learning from the Mamba here? Because I think that's what everyone is kind of putting aside. And it's something that I've kind of had questions about ever since the Achilles tear. Not to be a negative Nancy, but just like, hey, if he comes back in 9 months, how long does it take till we get Jason Tatum? I know there's that new soundbite of him saying, Doc, I ain't coming back to be no role player. But when do we truly get Jason Tatum? Do we get top 5 Jason Tatum ever? Ever again? You might get a top 10, top 15 Jason Tatum. But are you getting an all-NBA first team Jason Tatum again, coming off an injury like this? And is it worth risking a potential Kobe situation where he then tears up his knee, coming back, quote unquote, too soon from this Achilles injury, and then you're kind of up a creek without a paddle? Because instead of waiting the 18 months, like Kevin Durant did, which is a long time, don't get me wrong, I don't want Jason Tatum waiting 18 months, but are you rushing into this thing and him missing 14 months because of it and playing, a handful of games in the mix there? And the other thing is, again, adding Jason Tatum to any team is going to make them better to a certain extent, even a 70% Jason Tatum. But this Celtics team is on a freaking roll. And they have absolutely found a formula that works. And the formula is different every night. Joe Mazzulla is adjusting to his opponents every night. And some nights, like it was on Sunday, it's an Amish Queta night where he's got 27 points and 16 rebounds. Or, like the next game when Jaylen Brown didn't play, it's a Hugo Gonzalez night with 18 points and 16 rebounds and the best plus minus in the NBA amongst rookies, his best net rating of almost anybody in the entire league. Or it's a Peyton Pritchard night and he gives you 30 off the bench. Or it's Jordan Walsh giving you 24 and 8 off the bench, 20 and 8 off the bench. Or Derek White has a hot night shooting the ball. It's something new every night with this team, and putting Jason Tatum back in there doesn't make it the same. It means you're not continuing on that path, continuing on that role. It means your high-end talent is better, for sure, but we're talking about a Jason Tatum that is not near 100%. And so that's why I feel like I'm like banging on the glass like Matthew McConaughey. Like, no, it's not bad, but we got to talk about this here. We got to talk about this. So that's the part of this that nobody, I think, around this situation is talking about. And I get it. Kobe Bryant was 35. Durant was 30. He's closer to Durant in age than he is to Kobe in age. But Kobe, as a 35-year-old, felt 100%, came back after 8 months, and a week and a half later was back on the shelf. Durant, although he waited a long time, he hadn't been put on the shelf like that since. Except I guess Tatum kind of put him on the shelf that next playoff series that he played, 2022, with the Nets, when the Celtics swept them. Not the year before when they beat the Celtics. No, of course not. So I think there are just a lot of questions here, a lot of causes for concern as it relates to Jason Tatum coming back to this team. And the last point I want to point out is the Celtics went into this year with house money. And they're still playing with house money. And we're talking about the same thing with the Bruins here in Boston. House money. And yet, I think we have forgotten what house money means. I'll compare it to the Bruins again. It's trade deadline week this week, and everybody's talking about how they need to trade first-round picks and trade these prospects that they've gotten to upgrade their team right now. That's not house money. That's getting an investment. That's bringing in a partner and throwing some money at it. That is mortgaging part of your future to win now. That is the very antithesis of house money. House money is you roll with what you've got right now, and everything's a free hit. Everything you win is gravy. The Celtics went into this year with house money. Even at the trade deadline, when they traded Anthony Simons away for Nikola Vucevic, made their team better, but that's still house money. Simons is on an expiring contract. Vucevic is on an expiring contract. It's all square. It's all even. Having Jason Tatum come back into this team is an investment. Having him rush back into this team is the antithesis of house money. House money would be the Celtics waiting until Jason Tatum is 100% healthy and ready to go and ready to take the grind of an NBA season or an NBA postseason in this case, and waiting. That's house money. Rushing him back after 8 months, if it's not 100% sure, is not house money. But all that to say, we're going to be excited when he takes the floor. And the new report, once again, is not a matter of if, but when. Let me know what you think about the Jason Tatum return in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. And hey, guys, in 20 days, just under 3 weeks from now, we'll be coming at you at the Blackboard Bar and Kitchen in Charlestown, Mass. I cannot wait for that. We had a great live show back just over a week ago, or just about a week ago. It's 26th. When they played Columbus, the Bruins played Columbus. We're going to have it again. That's the night that the Bruins play the Leafs, man. So if you're going to that game or you're looking for a great place to get 34 draft beers, all of them in one night, there you go. And some great bar eats and a terrific cozy atmosphere before or after a game. That's the place to check it out. Blackboard Bar and Kitchen. Cheap parking too if you're going to the game. It's fantastic. And then you just hop right there before, after, and boy, you've got yourselves a night right there. I do need to talk about the Bruins a second. We're going to have Jeremy Roenick in just a few minutes. And Jeremy was really, JR, man, he was really generous with his time. And this episode's going to go long. Apologies to Zach. It is going to go long. But we've got to talk about something in the Bruins world. This was the worst take I have seen all week in sports media and might be the worst take of the year when you consider we're talking about a very well-known Boston athlete, and this is the original Boston sports talk radio station in WEEI. So Jones and Keefe, they do Tier Tuesdays, which is, of course, nothing like Felger and Maz's tiers, nothing like it. It's called Tier Tuesday. It's nothing at all the same. It's not a ripoff whatsoever. And so what they did was they took Boston sports stars right now and they tiered them to, being like nice player, all-star, team Hall of Fame, and then above team Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. Like guys who are headed for the Hall of Fame. And I saw the graphic right away and I said, this cannot be real. This has to be rage bait. And if it's rage bait, it's worked because I'm in a rage seeing it. Okay, here's what the guys had to say after putting Jason Tatum, Roman Anthony, and Drake May in the Hall of Fame tier. Here's what they had to say about David Pastrnak.
David Pastrnak.
That's probably a team Hall of Famer. Yeah,
I think they had 5 Hall of Famers on that team.
I think Pasta team Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
guy's gonna, by the time it's all said and done, he's gonna rank pretty high up on the goals scored list. But I think without the cup, it's probably hard to put him
in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, look,
he put Czechia up 2-1 over Canada. That's good.
The Hockey Hall of Fame is like, they love stat compilers. So if Pastrnak
but Keith Kachuk's not in.
No, I'm saying. But like, if you look at the Hall, some of the names that are in there, a lot of them have cups, but it is like, if you can do what Pastrnak has done, which is come in as a 19-year-old and pretty much put up goals every single year of your career, you're going to compile a ton of stats. He'll have the numbers. But that doesn't mean I'd put him in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. All right.
Team Hall of Fame. Perfect
Team Hall
spot
of
for
Fame.
him. Yes.
I think.
Yeah. It doesn't mean they almost had it too. They almost had it. Jones almost has it there, right? He's basically saying the guy is a Hall of Fame, but a Hall of Famer, but I don't have to put him in the Hall of Fame. I don't have to do that. That is brain damage. I think that's the only explanation there. That is Boston Sports Talk Radio malpractice. to say that David Pastrnak is not a Hall of Famer. But Roman Anthony, who has played 57 games of Major League Baseball, is a Hall of Famer. And Drake May, who's played a season and 3/4, is a Hall of Famer. I love those guys. I love Drake May. I love Roman Anthony. But to just automatically anoint them Hall of Famers when one of the two guys that's playing in the city right now that actually is a Hall of Famer is just denounced to the team Hall of Fame. He's downgraded to the team Hall of Fame to the point where they're insulting him. Keith, he put him up 2-1 against Canada. I mean, yeah, he's also got a Game 7 overtime winner. Like, not putting David Pastrnak in the Hall of Fame tier is like a fireable offense if you're supposed to be taken seriously. If it's rage bait and you're just making rage bait radio, then good luck. It worked for this one. I don't know how it works for the ratings, but congrats. You got me to watch the video. Awesome. But what David Pastrnak is doing right now, and for him to be somehow underrated in the city that he plays in a great hockey town like Boston, is actually unbelievable. Like, are we talking about the same David Pastrnak here? We must not be. Like, I look at the list of the active NHL players who have had 3 straight 100-point seasons, and it reads off as follows. Alex Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nathan McKinnon, and David Pastrnak. If you go to 3 straight 100-point seasons and throw in a 60-goal season in there, that list becomes Alex Ovechkin, Connor McDavid, David Pastrnak. Notice the 3 straight 100-point seasons. Sidney Crosby is not on that list. He's one of the 5 or 6 greatest players ever. Okay, so which one of those guys on the list are not Hockey Hall of Famers? I'll wait. He doesn't have a cup. Neither does Leon Draisaitl. Neither does Connor McDavid. Neither did Alex Ovechkin in his first 12 seasons in the NHL. Are we saying that those guys aren't Hall of Famers? Give me a break, man. That is so dumb. And by the way, he's one of the few guys in the league to have 3 straight 100-point seasons. He's going to have a 4th straight 100-point season. And 3 of them are going to come after Patrice Bergeron retires. So let's put that excuse to bed. Okay, that he only benefited from playing with Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. Dude had 100 points on a 15th place team last year. Morgan Geekie was released by an expansion team and has played 2 seasons with David Pastrnak. Both seasons he's had 33 goals. Morgan Geekie, this year he's going to have 40. And you have the balls to tell me, it's just a team Hall of Famer. Why even talk about hockey if you clearly do not understand the sport nor watch it at all? But great point by Keith. Keith Tkachuk's not in the Hall of Fame. So how could David Pastrnak be? Well, if we look at each of their first 12 seasons in the league, it's pretty obvious that David Pasternak's a better damn player than Keith Tkachuk was. So personally, I don't really give a shit in this case that Keith Tkachuk is not in the Hall of Fame because David Pastrnak is a better player than Keith Tkachuk. So it doesn't really matter. By the way, Keith Tkachuk should absolutely be in the Hall of Fame. Absolutely. And David Pastrnak is a better player. How about we take a look at someone who is in the Hall of Fame? And this is not to say anything bad about my next guest on the show. But let's take a look at Jeremy Roenick, who to me was a nailed-on Hall of Famer, waited far too long to get that call. Like, no doubt, Hall of Fame guy. Let's look at them through their first 12 seasons. And wouldn't you know, even having played less games than Jeremy Roenick, David Pastrnak scored more goals and had more points and has won a Rocket Richard, went to several All-Star teams. So what is it then? Why is David Pastrnak not a Hall of Famer? Man, if I hadn't seen this after the fact, I would have spent my whole day just calling into the radio and asking, why isn't David Pastrnak a Hockey Hall of Famer? Because he didn't win the Cup? Jeremy Roenick didn't win the Cup. Connor McDavid has not won the Cup. Leon Draisaitl has not won the Cup. And oh, by the way, there's plenty of time left. And it's not crazy to think that David Pastrnak, by the end of his career, is going to be the Bruins' all-time leading scorer. An original six team that's 100-plus years old. And it's not far-fetched at all to say he gets 600 more points in his career, as he's not even 30 yet, and will be the Bruins' all-time leading scorer. And you just want him in the Team Hall of Fame. Toronto, that's a step too far. Give me a break, dude. And don't use the Cup example on that one, because Ray Bourque had to go somewhere else after scoring every single one of his points for the Bruins, had to go somewhere else to win a Cup. So if New Jersey scores one more goal than Colorado in that game in 2001, Ray Bourque's not a Hall of Famer? Yeah, give me a break. And then I hear that he's not a good enough postseason player. And that's another myth, by the way. That is another myth by David Pastrnak. He's played basically an entire season in the playoffs, and he's a point-a-game guy, 87 points in 90 games. And he is a Game 7 overtime winner. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? And this is what pisses me off, man. Boston's a great hockey town. We have great fans in this town. And this is the crap that gets peddled on our sports talk radio. Like, if you don't watch the Bruins, then just don't talk about it. Clearly you don't. Because there's like 30 teams right now that would give an arm and a leg to have David Pastrnak on their team. You know why? Because he's a Hall of Famer. He's doing stuff offensively that nobody else does in this league. He's elevating his team. He's showing up when it matters. And yet, apparently that only gets you good enough for the Team Hall of Fame. I mean, it's incredible. Like, to say he's going to score 500 goals in his career is probably selling him short. He's likely going to score 600 goals in his career. He's going to get to 1,000 points in the NHL next season. He's going to have 1,000 points as a 30-year-old. And that's not good enough for the Hockey Hall of Fame, according to you guys? I mean, that is unbelievable. I'll just say, man, I'm available. I'm available in the 10 to 2 slot. Like, let's get someone who actually watches the sports and is not just trying to rage bait this thing. I mean, come on. Again, love Drake May. Love Roman Anthony. Roman Anthony has played 2 months of Major League Baseball, and they're putting him in the Hall of Fame over David Pastrnak in his Hall of Fame. That's such a joke, man. That is such a joke. And the crap that David Pastrnak gets in this town is unbelievable to me. Let's hear from Ron Mexico. Can't compare stats over eras. Okay, everybody else does in every sport, so why can't I? Why can't I? Is it easier or tougher to score in the NHL these days? Because, man, I watch those goalies from the 80s, one stick move, and they're on their ass, head over tea kettle in the back of the net, and someone's scoring on them. I don't think that happens in the NHL these days. In fact, I'd say it's harder to score in the NHL these days. And he just does it. He scores 100 points every year. It's fascinating to me, the crap that David Pastrnak gets in this town. And it's not from everybody. It's not really from the fans, but it's stuff like this. Oh, he's not a Hall of Famer. Oh, he doesn't contribute to winning. He doesn't make his teammates better. When in reality, he does all of those things. And we should honestly be lining up to kiss his ass that he's still playing for us at a discount. The way that things were going last year, like, would anybody have really blamed him if he had forced a trade out of here? He's one of the best bargain deals in the entire league. And we're talking about him only being a team Hall of Famer, not a Hockey Hall of Famer. Man, I talk about this with Roenick, which we'll see in a minute, but that's where the Hall of Fame and the people talking about it just can't get out of their own way. Keith Tkachuk is a Hall of Famer. He's not in yet, but he's a Hall of Fame player. David Pastrnak's better than him. Jeremy Roenick, nailed on Hall of Famer in the Hockey Hall of Fame. David Pastrnak had better stats through the first 12 seasons. If he retired right now, he would have a Hall of Fame case. Right now, he's not even 30. Team Hall of Fame. That is so brain dead, man. That is just, you can't fix stupid. And that's what that is. I just I can't believe anybody watches 82 games of David Pastrnak a year in this town and doesn't think he's a Hall of Famer. That's incredible to me. Incredible. Somehow, he's like a top 5 forward in the league, and he's somehow underrated in the city that he plays in. Turn on the TV, man. I know the Nesson product. I know the Nesson 360 stinks sometimes, but do me a favor. Turn it on. Watch a game every once in a while. Look at the stats every once in a while. Similarity scores are all Hall of Famers, man. His point shares are all in line with Hall of Famers, man. Teemu Selanne, Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic. Like, which one of these guys are you taking out of the Hall of Fame? His numbers and his consistency, he's a better player in the league right now than Austin Matthews is. Is anyone worried about Austin Matthews getting into the Hall of Fame? Whew, man. Worst take of the week, and it's not even close. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We come at you every weekday on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts as well. May I emphasize this now more than ever? Your lunchtime alternative to Boston Sports Talk Radio, if you want to hear from people that actually watch these games and keep up with the sports they're talking about, this is it. The Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stuart. No rage bait, just actually talking about reality in the Boston sports scene. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, find us here every weekday. And stick around if you're watching live, because after this short break, we are going to have the Hockey Hall of Famer, Marshfield, Massachusetts native, Jeremy Roenick, joining the show. Talk about USA hockey, where it goes from here. And boy, he's got some great answers. He had a great emotional moment with them. We're going to talk about his career, playing for Mike Keenan, playing on the same line as Tony Amonte in high school. That's some great stories there. And what the wait for the Hall of Fame did for Jeremy Roenick. That's coming up next, but let's do this real quick. Real quick. All right, Ron, Mexico. Let's look at the stats from the last 2 years. Tell me how Austin Matthews is better than David Pastrnak. I would love that. Because it's stupid. Several reasons. Between 99 and 2020, no players had 100 points. That's great, man. That's fantastic. Jeremy Roenick's first 12 seasons came before 2000. But who's the stupid one? Well, I'll wait, man. I'll wait. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because it all came before 2000. Keith Tkachuk, 10 of those 12 years came before 99. So it's not just the dead puck era. It's not just that, man. David Pastrnak is doing something that almost no active players are doing. Let's put it in the context of right now. There are 6 players active in the NHL who have had 3 straight 100-point seasons. They are all Hall of Famers. So that's not even a comparison to a different era. That's this freaking era right now. And those guys are all Hall of Famers. Like, tell me which one isn't. Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ovechkin. Tell me which one of those guys are not Hall of Famers. I'll wait. I'm going because we're going to commercial break. But if you got something, like, let me know. He's just as good as all of these guys, man. And okay, 90s was that's bro. You said 1999 and 2020. I don't know how to fix that for you. Like, that's you saying it, not me. And now you're moving the goalposts. David Pastrnak's a Hall of Famer. Get over it. Am I a homer? Yeah, I am. I'm wearing a friggin' Bruins hat. It's called the Wicked Boston Show. But I can also read stats and watch the game and know who's in the Hall of Fame. David Pastrnak's a Hall of Famer. I found the burner account. We got Jeremy Roenick coming up next. You don't want to miss it. Let's do it.
Blackmore Bar and Kitchen, located in Charlestown, is the perfect spot for a bite and drink before a Bruins or Celtics game at TD Garden. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen offers 34 rotating beers, craft cocktails, and an eclectic menu of tavern favorites like burgers, sandwiches, and flatbreads. Join us for brunch every Saturday and Sunday, plus pre- and post-game garden events. Blackmore Bar and Kitchen. Check us out at blackmorebar.com.
At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
But boy, it looked effortless.
Man, watch this.
Layups, floaters, threes. He was like an unsolvable equation.
I was born like this.
His resilience, his strength, his belief, adversity never stood a chance.
Know your power.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. us.muc-off.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
Welcome back to the Wicked Boston Show with Cam Stuart on 365 Sports. Our next guest needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. One of the greatest American hockey players ever, over 500 goals, Hockey Hall of Famer, and maybe most importantly, another kid of the South Shore. Jeremy Roenick joins the show. JR, I mean, you got this beautiful San Diego backdrop. Life must be pretty good for you right now.
Life is fantastic. There's no question about it. If anybody doesn't know anything about San Diego, it is the best weather in the world, bar none, as you can see by my background. And, you know, it's nice and quiet. We're away from the dumb political people down here, which is nice. It's a little bit more expensive, but we pay a weather tax. It's well worth it. So it's a great place to live, yes.
I bet. Especially, you know, I look out and I've still got 2 feet of snow looking out at right now. So I would trade places in a second if we could. Would love to talk to you about, you know, obviously your illustrious career. You finally got that recognition of going into the Hall of Fame, not this past year, the year before. But I know what's been a huge hockey thing for you recently and for the entire country was seeing this gold medal. First time, obviously, since 1980. And what I thought was so special was these guys really kind of knew what they were doing. You know, they knew kind of what they were carrying and what they were doing for USA Hockey. And so they mentioned a lot of these, you know, foundational pieces that has brought the U.S. hockey system to where it is now. And you're certainly a part of that. So how special was that for you to see that Jack Hughes goal and see them finally win the gold?
I don't think words can explain the feelings or how important it was and the emotions that went through my body and probably millions of other Americans, whether you like hockey or not. You know, it shouldn't be a surprise to you that that hockey players show so much respect and gratitude and passion for the game and also passion for their country. I think it's you know, they love each other on the team. They play hard for each other. Their egos are checked. They know the job that's at hand, and they know what they mean to the world. They know what they mean to the game, and they know what they mean to young kids that are watching. It could not have been scripted any better. The women, the best women's team I've ever seen put together in any country. Our U.S. women's team that won handily through the Olympics, probably dominated more than any team in Olympic history. And then to be followed by the men. It's the first time we've swept the Olympics in hockey, which is amazing. And for us to be able to do that in a time where we need it, we haven't had an Olympic win or a gold medal like this in the Olympics for 46 years in the men's side. 80 sparked my generation, myself, Mike Modano, Chris Chelios, Brian Leach, Tony Monti. We can go on down the line with that group that put us on the map. Now we are at the top of the map because of the team that we just saw in the Olympics. And again, they celebrated with class. They celebrated with thanking the players that came before them. They thanked the United States for the support and the excitement. And I bet you there were millions of kids that their dads and moms took them to learn to skate this week because of what happened. Because that's going to spur another generation of hockey players that are going to want to be Jack Hugheses, that are going to want to be Brady and Matt Tkachuk's, that are going to want to be Austin Matthews in the future. And you cannot put a price on that. And it's almost impossible to emulate the power that kind of win and that kind of excitement and that kind of platform energizes a sport.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is it's interesting because, it's the first time best on best championship for USA Hockey to beat Canada in the finals since you guys did it in 96. And obviously that was a stacked roster. And obviously the US hadn't won since 1980 at a big tournament, senior level tournament. So was that something that you guys were carrying as well, of not just like, hey, we want to win because we're proud of our country, but also like, we love our country. We're getting a little disrespected in a way in this game. It's all about Canada, and that you were kind of carrying something extra as well.
Yeah, we were carrying hockey mediocrity in the United States because we never were a superpower. And to tell you the truth, I think we were sick and tired of losing and being second fiddle to Canada, who obviously are arch rivals and bitter rivals, but also the respect factor of it is Canada's game. And I think that being able to win in 96, what the boys were able to do was very, very special in terms of getting that monkey off of the US backs, and to say, hey, we can do this. And that solidified us as a superpower. And if you look down that roster of 1996 and you see the power players that were on that team, there is no question that you can say that those are some of the best players ever to play the game. So, and again, our U.S. Development program are now developing future superstars, superstars in the National Hockey League, Olympic superstars, and USA Hockey's done a great job through the throughout the whole country in doing the groundwork to put good programs, have good accessibility to ice, and good coaching for kids to learn the game properly. So USA Hockey is only going to get better. My hat's off to everything that they've done over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and that's obviously a huge part of why they just won the gold, the men and the women in their programs as well. But like this U.S. National Development Program, I think it was, all but like 4 or 5 of the guys on the team had come through that program. So they had played against the best. They started winning World Juniors. They won the Senior World Championship last year and now the gold medal. So it kind of all comes together. And these guys are kind of part of this USA Hockey fraternity. And like we mentioned earlier, they lean on you guys a lot. Obviously, you played with Bill Guerin. He was the one picking the team. But they talk about you and Brian Leach and Chris Chelios and all these guys. So do you have a relationship with these guys on the team? Like, did you get a chance to talk to them before or after the games?
So I was I was very honored on the Tuesday after the win. I'm sitting in my house and my phone goes off in the FaceTime, and Charlie McAvoy gives me a FaceTime from Air Force Two, standing with the boys. And, they're the two Chuck brothers and, Austin Matthews and, obviously Charlie on there. And Dylan Larkin was so awesome grabbing the phone and saying, JR, thanks for everything you did. You paved the way for us. We couldn't have done this without you guys. And I had tears falling from my eyes. I was overcome with emotion. I was so grateful for the phone call because I'm a fan of these guys, right? These are my boys that I watch. These are my guys that I root for. And here they are calling me, thanking me for something that they did that was so historical. And again, it shows you the respect that hockey players have, not only for themselves, but also for the people that came before them.
I mean, come on. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. I will never forget those boys for that gesture. It was a small gesture. It was exciting for them, but it solidified so much of my career and my feelings about my career. Like the Hall of Fame did. This was right up there, with one of the greatest things that could have been gifted to me to make me realize that, I did make a big impact and have a big effect on the game.
That is so great to hear because, you've talked about this pretty candidly in the past, kind of what you were just saying, looking back on your career, the way people thought about you, the wait for the Hall of Fame, the Stanley Cup and all that. And, you had obviously this great moment with USA Hockey in 96. You had an unbelievable career, a Hall of Fame worthy career, first ballot Hall of Fame worthy career. But looking back on that, it's these moments like these. Do you think that is something that every hockey player kind of yearns for, even the ones who do win a couple cups, who do get in the Hall of Fame right away, to get some sort of validation like that next generation?
Well, I don't know if they all do, but I will preface this statement in saying they should. Everybody should have those sort of dreams and goals and aspirations. Whether you can achieve them or not, I think goals like that, even if they're extremely lofty, create a burn inside, a competitive edge, a work ethic, and the desire to put into the game. It creates a love for the game, to try to achieve those goals and to have those dreams, come to life. Life is not fulfilled without having dreams. And obviously you can have different level dreams, small dreams, big dreams, maybe dreams that will never be achieved for whatever reason. But it's nice to have them, because whatever reason that you can give yourself to put everything you have behind what you do, to be passionate about what you do, to be a good teammate in what you do, it's only makes you a better person, only makes you a better player, and only gives you a better chance to become better at what you do.
And now, of course, with talking about the double gold here, the kind of loaded question that everyone's been getting is what does this mean for hockey that the USA has done this? And you mentioned earlier, it's tough to put in words. You know it when you see it. You saw it after 1980. You saw it after 96. You're going to see it, at the 2042 Olympics. They're all going to be like the Jack Hughes moment. That's what got me there. So I guess more modifying that question is, like, Canada's had great teams. They've had great moments. Sidney Crosby goal, all-time hockey moment, all that. But does it mean more for the NHL when, is that a better advertisement for the league when the U.S. is successful?
I think it means more to the United States because it's harder to make hockey bigger and more important and more popular in the United States than it is in Canada. In Canada, it's in everybody's face. It's the first thing on the news every night. It's on the front page of every paper. Everybody's in their backyard playing in the wintertime. There's ice sheets everywhere. People playing street hockey. I mean, it is in Canada, hockey is life. In the States, it's not so much. So to get that attention and to grow the game in the United States needs things like the Olympics and these really good feel good stories and emotional stories and motivational stories in order to get people to get to the ice to find out about the game. Because once you get on the ice and once you find out about the game, you fall in love with it very quick. So yeah, and by the way, this is not this is a female male. This is hockey. This is not a gender aspect. We're very, very fortunate in our country, in North America right now, to have the PWHL, to have a women's pro league, to give a lot of young female hockey players something to look forward to, something to work for. I can be a professional hockey player, a woman can say now. And that's a gift, and that's something to strive for. And that's going to make the game better too. That's going to bring more people into the game. That's going to give them more reason to play longer, to stick with it when they feel that it's not going so well or things are against them. So the women did an amazing job. Like I told you, I think they're the best team ever assembled. I was so proud of them, but it even goes further than just the Olympics. And I think that's, it's a wonderful time in America to be a hockey player.
Yeah. And with the women too, we're already seeing that impact in the PWHL. They set an attendance record this past weekend. They're probably going to break it again next month when they play in Boston.
Nobody deserves it. Nobody deserves it better than the women. They have put up with so much secondary attention. They've put up with the lack of playing opportunity, whether it's the lack of being able to call yourself a pro. That they deserve every bit of the accolades that they're getting and success that they're getting, and I only hope that it continues to grow.
It's phenomenal. And I'll say, the quality of hockey at the women's level has, I think, changed dramatically over the last 10, 12 years. I mean,
no question.
It's a different game. It is a different game. Looking tough transition, but looking back at the men's team, because you talked about some of the stories, the narratives there, obviously two of the big names, the Tkachuks, right? You've known them for a long time, right? Because you played with Big Walt right around the time those kids were born.
I was there when they were born.
No kidding, really?
I was like there when they were born. Yes, I was. I might have been one of the first teammates or first guys to hold the boys in my arms, when they were born. The Tkachuk family I'm very close to the Tkachuk family. I love them immensely, and I've watched these boys grow up since they came out to the earth. That's for sure.
Jeez. And I bring that up because you said recently, these guys being everywhere and the way they play, in a way they're saving hockey. What do you mean by that and their impact on the game?
Well, I think especially for the guys that have played in the National Hockey League, what they call us the old school mentality, right? The old school mentality. And I think even a lot of the fans that are maybe in their late 40s, 50s, 60s that remember the game in the 80s and 90s, and even sometimes in the 70s, it was a very tough, physical, a very hard game to play mentally, whether it was the verbal jousting that went on, whether it was the competitive edge, the lack of salaries that people were playing for, the desire to play through pain, play through injury, the toughness that these guys showed back in the day. I think there was a generation that we kind of lost that mentality. We lost that feistiness. We lost that anger, that meanness, that competitive level, and that toughness that allowed people to play through pain. It was almost like the soft generation, right? The generation that didn't want to get hurt, that didn't want words to hurt their feelings, and how easy can I get this done? And don't yell at me because you're going to hurt my feelings. I think that's changing again. I think that the next generation is kind of moving back into, the previous mentality that I talked about. The Tkachuk brothers never had that mentality. The Tkachuk brothers were always workhorses. They are always respectful to the game and how they prepared for the game, how they worked at the game, how they played physical, how they supported their team, how they fought at the level that they play their game. They play with offense. They put points on the board. They're in people's faces. They give the fans something exciting to watch. And, then they get on television and they're totally respectful. They talk about their teams. They give good interviews. They're classic old school hockey players that have kept kind of a mentality around that their dad had. Keith Tkachuk was one of the greatest leaders and one of the best teammates that I've ever had. The way he approached the game, the way he captained his team, the way he took care of trainers and other people, and the boys do the same thing. So for me, they are generational players, and when I say that they've kept up I think a stigma of the National Hockey League that we never want to die.
And you certainly kind of got baptized by old school hockey pretty early on in your
Too
NHL
early.
career. Yeah, I bet. I do want to get to that. But first, it is the Wicked Boston show. All right, Jeremy. So we got to go back to your roots a little bit. Down on the South Shore, Marsh, Vegas, their academy. And you were actually drafted in the top 10, which back then never happened.
Especially
American players,
kid.
high school kid. Yeah, like that does not happen. It helps that you and another NHL great from the time, Tony Amonte, you guys are playing on the same line together. What was that like in high school? I mean, were you guys just putting up video game numbers?
Dominant. I mean, it was like, well, first of all, Thayer, we were 2-time New England prep school champions, and we lost in the finals of our third year. I only went to 3 years of high school with Tony. I turned pro after our junior year. Tony went on to go to his senior year and then do a year at BU before he came into the league. But the two of us were so dominant that you couldn't beat us because of the two of us. One of the best skaters, one of the best goal scorers I ever played with, Tony Monte. He's like my soulmate of wingers. I mean, where else do you play with somebody before high school? You play with somebody at high school, then you play with that same person in the pros on two different teams. I mean, Tony and I have a very unique and strong bond that was formed in high school at Thayer Academy. And I was very small. I was 155 pounds when I got drafted. And you're right, it was not a very popular thing for the league to pick high school kids, especially ones that you could probably pick up with one hand and throw them off to the side, like I was.
Yeah, man.
But I decided to leave and turn pro after my junior year and take my shot at it. It was a rocky first year. I played 24 games in the league my first year, had 20 points, and kind of established myself as someone that could play in the league at a small size. Mike Keenan made sure that I was mean and hit hard and skated as fast as I could to generate as much momentum to overcompensate for how small I was. But I learned to love to hit. Unfortunately, I had to learn to fight, because when you hit hard, you're going to get confronted with a lot of people, especially at that time in the National Hockey League. I mean, I fought Bob Probert a couple times. I fought Martin McSorley a couple times. I fought some of the toughest guys in the game because I was as physical as I was. But I had to. I had to do that in order to be successful. And it turned out to be one of those real positive attributes of my game that people enjoyed and that I enjoyed.
This is going to be a dumb question because you just talk about fighting McSorley and Probert, but were there any guys that you were like, I can't go there. I can't do that?
There's one guy. Yeah, I would never fight Ty Domi. I would never fight Ty Domi for so many different reasons. Number one, because he's a very good friend of mine. I love Ty Domi with all my heart, but he just seemed like he didn't have all of his screws in place. A couple of his screws loose. A guy that enjoyed fighting as much as Ty did. A guy that looked like, he could just a rabid pit bull on the ice, right? And a guy who had a Teflon head that every time you hit it, he got happier. I was like, no way am I going near a guy like Ty Domi. And by the way, Ty Domi is one of the best player fighters that we've ever seen in the game. For the longest period of time, Ty Domi played more Toronto playoff games than anybody. As a guy that was known as a tough guy, the guy could play the game, and that's why he has so much respect around the game, and so much respect still after he played for not only his toughness and his fighting, but being a player that you can put on the ice pretty much in any situation.
And going back to the early Chicago days, right? Earliest part of your career in the NHL, late 80s, early 90s, Iron Mike was typically Mike Tyson, but I think you had a different idea of Iron Mike playing for Mike Keenan. Misunderstood could be a way to categorize him in a way. He's very divisive when it comes to guys who played for him. So take me through that experience. Again, this is the 155-pound kid who does a little bit of the Q after leaving BC, and now Mike Keenan is your coach.
Well, there was sometimes in my early career that I would have rather been in a ring with Mike Tyson than in an office with Mike Keenan. He was one of those very intimidating figures that ruled with an iron fist. Mike Keenan was a guy that demanded hard work, demanded toughness, demanded you play through pain and injury, was everything about the team, and was a guy that, to tell you the truth, was he didn't want anybody to feel comfortable in the locker room. He kept it uncomfortable all the time. His comment to me all the time is comfort leads to complacency. And when you're complacent, you lose. So I can't tell you how many times we had fights in the locker rooms, how many times we had fights in practice, because Mike would just keep us on edge all the time, whether it was his yelling, whether it was calling us names, whether it was making us skate, whether it was making us practice on days we wanted days off. But one thing about Mike is he was always there if you needed him. If you needed some advice or you need some life help or some work on something, you can always go in and talk to him. And he pretty much created the player that I became, and he supported me through thick and thin when I was doing well on the ice. He was great supportive when I wasn't doing well on the ice. He kicked me in the ass, but he also helped me, socially away from the rink, family wise. And I'll never forget him for that. But, his record speaks for himself.
Yeah, he won pretty much everywhere he went, and that includes Russia as well, and won a championship in the KHL. Was there any crazy off the charts Mike Keenan story that you could tell of this moment I just was in a pretzel?
There was Mike Keenan every year because he knew he was so tough, and he knew that there was half the players in the team that liked him and half the players that hated him. He would always walk into the locker room one practice day, and he'd walk into the locker room with all his gear on. And he'd be like, all right, you MFers, here's your only chance. It's scrimmage day. And Mike, we would go up and scrimmage for 30, 40 minutes. And Mike would literally play 20 minutes on one team and then switch jerseys and would go play 20 minutes on the other team to let everybody have the opportunity to get their licks in on Mike. And Mike was a pretty good player. I mean, he played in college, he could skate. But I will tell you, when you got near Mike, if you were going to take the chance to go put a good lick on him, hit him, slash him, punch him, you were going to feel some pain because that stick was going to be chopping. His gloves were going to be wailing. He was going to do anything he can to make sure that he defended himself and that he fought and played the game his way, the way that he wanted us to play the game. And after every game, we get down to the locker room. There's some people with blood on their face. There's some people with, obviously sitting in their stalls, either happy that they got Mike or disappointed that they didn't. Mike would always walk back into the locker room and said, well, I'm still here, you effers. See you tomorrow. Right.
I mean, that's a way to back it up.
It was a fun time. That's a perfect kind of rendition of Mike Keenan.
Yeah. And looking at, the teams you played for in the early days, obviously Chicago, you go to Phoenix and then Philadelphia. I think the NHL probably has a fair reputation of being behind the times sometimes culturally and, the kind of what they expect from their players entertainment wise. You kind of broke the mold a little. Let your personality show. And that's why I think a lot of these kids looked up and said, I want to be like Jeremy Roenick. But you come into a time where it's a smaller NHL. You're playing for an original six franchise at the beginning. Do you feel like you were kind of breaking a mold without even knowing
100%, 100%. Well, I see it now. I see, when I go to games now, I see players throwing pucks over the glass to kids, right? When I came into the league in 1988, that was not done. The pucks were there for warm-ups. The team would actually get mad when pucks were thrown into the stands because it hurt their puck budget. Their budget for pucks was raised for sure. But I started throwing pucks. I stayed late after warm-ups, and I'd throw pucks to kids sitting there, and I understood that we are an entertainment. People are coming to watch us. They're coming to have an experience with us, whether it's one that we notice or one that gets personal, but it is definitely one that is professional. And I understood that, we're in the entertainment business. I want to give the best product for someone who's spending their hard-earned money to come and watch us. I also understood that the media had a purpose. They're there to report on us, to bring what's happening with us to the masses, to the fans, to the people. So in order to give them the truth or give them something that was worth reading, you had to be honest. And I had no problem. I love that aspect. And yes, it brought a lot of attention to me. And sometimes it was attention that my other teammates didn't really respect or didn't think that was necessary. But they would have been just as fine, just, never being noticed, never being seen, playing in an empty building and going home and having dinner and going to sleep and never enjoying the accolades of what it's like to have fans in the building. Sports is pro sports because people pay their hard-earned money to come sit in the building to watch us perform. Period. End of sentence. Pro sports would not be pro sports without fans. And I understood that. And I wanted to give them something fun. I wanted to give them something to get mad at. I wanted them to something maybe to have a conversation about. I wanted something to put a smile on people's faces. And I had no problem being a little crazy, a little outlandish, sometimes stupid, sometimes controversial, because it also got me motivated. It pumped me up for games. My adrenaline got flowing because of that attitude. Should everybody do that? Probably not. It's not, but we do need some personalities. And we have a few of them in the league right now. Matthew Tkachuk is one of those guys. Jack Hughes is one of those guys. We just had PK in the league that was one of those guys. We can't be afraid to come out and be expressive and be fun and be, and help the league, because that's pretty much what we do is we help promote the league. And you know what? If you don't like it, go watch another sport.
And that led to a lot for you. You are obviously one of the most beloved players in the NHL, but in a lot of cities you were hated because of the way you played, because of how you beat some teams, because of what you said afterwards. So was that something you were just comfortable with, of like, hey, not everyone's going to like me?
I didn't want everybody to like me. I mean, I think that's number one. It's not possible.
Right.
It's an unattainable goal. It allowed me to be who I was because I could say something and know that at least 50% of the people are going to like what I said. And then 50% won't. So, for that reason, I was always going to be protected in one place. So, but I don't want somebody from another team or fans from another team liking me or not booing me, because that means I'm pretty much ineffective. I didn't do anything to, that impress them or hurt their team.
They don't boo nobodies. That's what they say,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But I will say one thing about hockey, and this is fan across the board, whether it's America or Canada. They might hate me and hate what I did on the ice, but when I see them in public or I run into somebody, they're so gracious and, very complimentary, and, great career. It's nice meeting you. We hated you when you played for the Flyers. We hated you when you played for the Chicago. And, that's all that really matters is if you have respect for somebody, that's really what it's all about. And I've found there's a lot of respect that has been given to me over the years. And for that, I'm very, very grateful.
Yeah, they probably say, yeah, we hated you, but the chuckle comes afurwards. So it's
of course,
a little
I love
bit
it.
better. Yeah,
I say thank you. It's the best compliment, and especially in Toronto, after I knocked them out in 2004,
Yes.
which is one of the best goals of all time for me. It's fun going up to Toronto and being reminded of that goal pretty much every single day of my trips through Ontario, which makes me very happy.
I mean, unbelievable, iconic. You and Eruzione doing that kind of dance. I mean, it's great. Just a couple more for you. You've been so generous with your time here, JR. So I really, really appreciate that. I do want to talk about the Hall of Fame a little bit. It's something that has, you're now in class of 2024. Belated congratulations there.
Thank you.
I think most hockey fans would agree it took longer than it should have. That's obviously something you can't control. But, we see it in baseball sometimes now. We saw it with Curt Schilling to the point where he was like, don't even vote for me. I don't want this in my life anymore. Was there ever a moment that you had that thought of like, you know what? I don't need the Hall of Fame. People remember how great
I
a
was
player
there.
I was.
You
were there.
Oh, 100% there. And actually in 2024 was really the first year that I pretty much put it out of my mind. I didn't want to be asked about it. I didn't want to think about it. I had pretty much resorted myself to thinking I was going to be the Pete Rose of hockey, right? They'll put me in when I'm dead. And yes, it bothered me. I was definitely spiteful because of it. Now, looking back, should I have been? Maybe, because, was my career a first ballot? Maybe not a first ballot, but it wasn't 12 years, in my opinion. But when I come to think about everything, it's like, what makes a Hall of Famer? And what makes a Hall of Famer is not so much just what you do on the ice, but it's who you portray off the ice. And I don't think I was the greatest portrayer of maybe a Hall of Famer in all aspects of my life. And I had to really do some big soul searching, and had to really make some changes in my life, and kind of do some different things that for me gave me some peace and put some better mojo into the universe, positive vibes into the verse, do more good things for people, be a better dad, be a better husband, be a better friend, be a better person, be more respectful. And I did that. And it's kind of funny, when I did make those changes and I did kind of put a little Jesus into my life, and understand there's a higher power, there's a bigger purpose. Good things started happening to me, and the Hall of Fame called. And from that, has created a lot of peace. I will tell you, I feel very different as a person. I feel very different as a hockey player walking into an arena as a Hall of Famer. I take very, very seriously the responsibility of that crest and that emblem of the hundreds of players that are in that building, that are enshrined on the walls. So I take that seriously, and every day I have to be on guard, on my guard of things that will have a representation on that. And my life is way better because of it. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to have that nomination bestowed on me. And I'm very grateful to have the family that I have, to have the wife that I have, to have the 2 kids that I have, and have the friends that I have. And there's not a day that doesn't go by where I don't give thanks for that. But it takes work. It takes work. Doesn't just come to you. You have to. It's an everyday process, and I look forward to that every morning.
That's amazing. Like that's amazing right there. You know, you scored 1,300 points, 500 goals. You know, you played over 1,000 games in the NHL. Everyone looks at that as a Hall of Fame career, and it is obviously. But that wait, that long wait to get there, sounds like it changed your life.
It really did. And you know what they say? They say sometimes, all good things that come to those who wait. I understand what that means more now.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Because when I got the call, I did not realize how much it would affect me, how powerful it hit me, and how emotional that I was when it happened. And I'm very thankful for that feeling, because for the longest time I didn't think that I would have that feeling, and I'm really happy that I was able to have that feeling of total gratitude and amazement and satisfaction over getting that call. It was an honor. It was really cool. No question about it.
And like you said before, you know, it kind of opens your eyes about the things that really matter and, you know, your family and community, the community around hockey. You know, you've been really embraced by the Blackhawks. You know, you do Blackhawks alumni events. You know, you and Chelios are there at the forefront all the time. You know, obviously that emotional moment you had when they won the cup against your other former team, the Flyers. What does it mean to be embraced by, you know, I'm a Bruins guy, but like, come on, the Blackhawks are one of the great organizations, great fan bases, great hockey.
Yeah, it's 100%. Well, growing up a Bruins fan, you know, obviously I have respect for the original six. To be drafted to an original six team is one of the best things that ever happened to me. Flyers, I can't tell you my love for the Flyers and their fans and what they did for me. I had a bond with every fan base that I played for, and it was very strong. It was very passionate, and it was very real. But to have a relationship with a team that drafted you, a team like the Hawks, where I spent 9 years, my glory years. And for the longest time, I had a very tumultuous and not a very good relationship with the Hawks for a lot of reasons, which I brought up in my Hall of Fame speech, and I got off my chest, which was awesome for me, to be able to be liberated in that. But to go back and now be an ambassador for that team that you love so much, to walk into that United Center and to literally feel like part of that team again, and to walk around and be accepted and feel like I am the representation of that team again. That's a gift that I can't even tell you the gratitude that I have for that, and I will cherish that. And every time I walk in there, I will remember what that feeling is like and why I'm there. It's pretty cool.
And it's a deserved spot on that pantheon. Like, we got to say, you know, obviously your great career, you're part of some really, really good Blackhawks teams. So that's just awesome to hear. That's so awesome. A couple more quick rapid fire before we get you out of here. A couple rapid fire questions on your career. I do want to know, because you played, the beginning of your career was right at the end of the great old barns, right? You played in all of them. So what was your favorite old barn to play in the NHL?
Well, the Chicago Stadium, there'll never be a building like that. I got to play there 6 years. It was the most rowdy, most intense, one of the most fearful buildings of all time to play in, whether you were a visitor or even a nervous, intimidated home player, right in front of those fans. It was an amazing place. The anthem, the roar of the crowd. You know, this madhouse on Madison for a reason. I always loved going into Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens and Montreal Forum. These two cities that had so much history, the players that played there, and not only that, but to play in front of the people and their knowledge of the game, and to play well in those buildings. I'll never forget the first time I walked into the Montreal Forum, and I literally couldn't breathe. I couldn't breathe my first game. I was so nervous. And then to have the ability to play in the world's most famous arena in Madison Square Garden, you know, some of the experiences I had in there, you can't reinvent the old barns. You can't reinvent the chemistry, the history, the ambiance, the feeling, and the atmosphere that those places generated. It was awesome.
Gosh, you're making me jealous. I didn't get to go to them, so you're really making me jealous.
You
here.
missed out. Trust me.
I know.
You missed out.
If I could do like, as I'm a huge all four pro sports, I'm such a diehard. Obviously, you know what it's like here in Boston. You know, we don't really have much of a choice. But if I could do anything, like go back in time, just the late '80s, early '90s, Bruins, Canadians, old Boston Garden, Cam Neely, Ray Bork, like that, I'd do it in a second. So, most underrated player that you played with.
Whoa.
Then I'm going to do against after this.
Yeah, I mean that's so tough. I played with so many great players. I would say on the defensive side, Teppo Numminen was probably one of the best non-talked about defensemen in the game. What he was able to do and how good a player he was. He never got the accolades that he probably should have. He is probably the one guy that steps to mind first. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Most underrated player you played against in your long career.
Ooh, gosh, my goodness, you just throwing some crazy
Look,
stuff.
The weather's too nice out there, JR. I got to make you think a little bit. I got to keep you on your toes just a bit.
Yeah.
Life's easy in San Diego.
It really is. It really is. Gosh, that's a tough one. I mean, underrated players I play against. I would say probably the game's so good. I would probably say a quarter of the players that I played against were underrated. A lot of the players that didn't get the accolades of how well that they played. I think their importance to the team and some of the things that they did. I really couldn't. There's not a one person that I would say was most.
We can pass.
Yeah, we got to pass on that one.
All right, we could do that with Jeremy Roenick passing the puck here. Let's talk about. I'm a big hockey sweaters guy. You played for a lot of teams. Well, not a lot of teams, but you played under a lot of good sweaters. What was your favorite sweater that you wore in the NHL?
Well, you can't beat the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks are the best uniform, the best sweaters of all time.
Home white,
just classic. I like the Reds. I'm a big red Blackhawks, and I will tell you my other favorite jersey is the first generation Kachina Phoenix jersey. Just such an out of the box, crazy, not traditional, and it grew on you. It looked so ugly the first time I saw it, but then I have one in my house. It's a collector's item that I think that is hard to beat in terms of the magnitude of how cool that jersey is.
Oh man, that's iconic, man. And that 97, which I found out recently, you were the first player in NHL history to wear 97, which is now iconic.
That was the year I got traded, and that was the year my son was born. So it was only right to go to 97. I will tell you another jersey that is iconic to me is the Hartford Whalers jersey. The Hartford Whaler logo is one that I'll always remember. I grew up on Hartford Whalers as well as the Boston Bruins. So there's another jersey that I think is pretty iconic.
Unbelievable, man. The Hartford Whalers one. You can't replicate how good that logo is.
Nope.
All right. Last thing here, and I'm putting you on the spot as I've done with the last couple, so I don't feel as bad, but putting you on the spot here. 2 other forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie. Jeremy Roenick's dream team that he played with.
Yeah. Tony Monty, Keith Tkachuk on front.
Yeah.
And I would say and I'd have to throw maybe Joe Thornton in there too, maybe an alternate.
Okay, sure. Extra attacker.
Chris Chelios for sure on defense. And other defensemen, I would probably throw in, let's see. Like I said, I'd probably throw in Teppo Numminen.
All right.
As another teammate defenseman that was just unbelievable. And Eddie Belfour in goal.
Of course. Eddie the Eagle, baby. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta have him. Man, that must have been a charged up locker room. With you and Eddie and Mike Keenan and Chris Chelios kind of holding down the fort, man, that must have been one heck of a locker room that you guys had in Chicago.
It was unbelievable. We had a couple players smoking cigarettes in the locker room, getting ready to go out for in between periods. So it was definitely a different generation, different time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And now speaking of that, you might have some guys, most guys do beer league. You might be doing a whiskey league hockey because you're big in the whiskey business now, man. I got to try this. Tell me about it.
Yeah. So I own, and I'm not the face of it. I started a company with a couple buddies of mine, and it's called Whiskey in the Wild. And we created the greatest blend whiskey that is chocolate and a chocolate orange whiskey. That is the greatest, no cringe, no burn sensation of a whiskey that you'll ever have. And it's, you're drinking a chocolate whiskey when you take a sip of my whiskey. I highly suggest whiskeyinthewild.com. Check it out. Get it for a gift. Every bottle comes with a flask. We have a new bottle coming out in March, which is going to be one of the coolest stainless steel bottles that you can run over it and it won't break. I highly suggest everybody take a look at this. Grab it, order it online. It'll get delivered right to your house. I will guarantee you, whether you're a female or a male, whether you like whiskey, whether you don't, that'll be one of the best drinking experiences you'll ever have.
That's huge. That's huge because I suck at giving gifts. But this is perfect. This I can hand out. That's for sure.
Yeah,
and you've kind of put your fingers in the business world as well. Am I right in that?
Yeah. So I also started a company called PaychainX, and it's in the merchant services blockchain world. So my company was one of the first companies ever to automate the merchant services process, which pretty much takes a lot of the people that don't need to be in the process out of the equation. The people that are sticking their hands in the cookie jars and taking some of these fees, these high, crazy credit card fees that all these companies and these merchants have to pay. So what I do is I come in with the blockchain, I secure the data, make sure the data is safe. I move the data faster, and I take those fees and I bring them down for the merchant so that they can make a little bit more money on their business, but also protect the customer's data when you put that credit card into a payment slot, or when you enter that number onto a computer for an e-commerce. So PaychainX, if anybody owns a company that wants to find out how to save some money on their merchant services fees, I'm the guy to call. PaychainX.
You're kind of like the goalie now. You're scoring goals for so long. Now you're playing goalie for people with their money. I love that.
Just like you have to prepare yourself for a game in professional hockey and professional sports, you have to prepare yourself for life, and that's by staying busy and getting into business. And once the brain stops, you stop. So that's not happening with me.
Oh, it certainly is. It certainly is not. And I'm so thankful that you ended up giving so much time here. I mean, I could have gone all day with you. Really appreciate Jeremy Roenick, the Hall of Famer, taking the time today on the Wicked Boston Show. Jeremy, you stay well. I know that's not going to be too tough a task out there in San Diego. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go hit the links. Appreciate it. Take
care.
There
he goes. We'll see you. Jeremy Roenick going out to hit the links. And guys, why don't you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. How awesome was that? The Hockey Hall of Famer, Jeremy Roenick. Thanks to him. Thanks to you guys for tuning in. Of course, you can find us on YouTube 5 days a week and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Of course, special thank you to Jeremy Roenick and to Zach Burke for keeping us on in the studio. Special thank you to Blackmore Bar and Kitchen, our great sponsor here on the Wicked Boston Show, right down the street in Charlestown, right across from the TD Garden. 34 draft beers, all kinds of good eats. You got brunch on the weekends too. Just a fantastic spot. JR told me he loved it. Just saying. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow on another edition of the Wicked Boston Show.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.